Well, ladies and gentlemen, to be able to spend an hour thinking about La Bohème is the first time we've ever talked about what I would call a Monday night opera. There is a group of operas that we call the Monday Nighters that you could put on any Monday night and be assured of a good audience. And La Bohème is one of them. And there are not so many others. I reckon there's about a dozen. It's a great, great favorite. Why? Because it's very skillfully written. It touches us in a good performance every time to the heart. It has a lovely mixture of youthful high spirits, sensuality, fun, outrageousness, and pathos. She may not be the greatest heroine in opera, Mimì. She's a simple girl who ornaments, embroiders flowers on material to earn a living. But when she dies, it's very difficult not to be stirred and not to be moved. The reason is that Puccini was a master, wasn't he? I thought it might be interesting tonight just to talk about the piece in its overall shape and extraordinary achievement, and then to take various parts of it with these lovely young artists and work on it together and try and show you what we go through when we try and do an opera by Puccini. This music sounds so natural and flowing, and it always falls beautifully on the ear, doesn't it? There's something so natural and unforced about Puccini's music. But for us, the performers, it's an enormous challenge every single time we do it. Because he came at the end of a big century, didn't he? When the 19th century had seen so many events, socially, politically, artistically. And Puccini's generation wanted to find something, what they called realer, more verismo. And so they wanted to try and not just find stories that were full of life as everybody would recognize it, rather than the monumental subjects that Verdi had chosen. Is there anybody here tonight who's never seen La Bohème? Wonderful. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Wow, isn't that something? Well, that's wonderful. No, that's wonderful. Why should you have done, for goodness sake? So La Bohème, the life of a Bohemian, the Bohemian lifestyle. It's impossible to translate, but it has all of that in it. It's a story about people who live on the edge of poverty, how their wit and their youthful high spirits see them round the corners, see them through the difficulties. It's lovely to do it at this time of year, because every act is full of cold. The music at the start of the evening plunges us into the energy of two students who live together, share a little flat together. One of them's trying to make a career as a writer, not doing very well. The other one's a terrible painter, and he's struggling away, trying to do a picture of the Red Sea, of all things. Incredible that this music with which this piece opens was actually not written for La Bohème at all. And I wonder whether a lot of you know this, that when he came to set the libretto of La Bohème, which is a brilliant libretto, he realized that some music that he wrote as a student in a piece for his conservatoire, the Capriccio Sinfonico, would perhaps have the music that he needed to open this opera. Fantastic, fantastic. So it's a burst of energy with this strong rhythmic da-dum-dum-dum, da-dum-dum-dum, da-dum-dum-dum. It's these two young boys hugging each other themselves for the cold, desperately trying to keep moving, to keep their bodies warm. But it wasn't invented for this act, this scene at all. It came from this Capriccio Sinfonico, which is a beautiful piece, very romantic piece. And it starts in a very serene and emotional way, slow music, builds up and dies away, and then suddenly the orchestra plays that. And it's an amazing example of how a composer is like a magpie, that they need to think about where they're going to find the musical ideas. It may be something that they've heard, it may be something they've just thought of. He thinks, now that music I wrote all those years ago might just be the thing I need. Amazing that this music was not originally written for Bohème. What's interesting about it to me is the harmony. Can you play it slowly? Ta-dum-bum-ba. Do you see? So the low note, da-dum-bum-ba, that F, followed by the B, is a dissonance in it. There's a sort of edge to it. Dum-bum-ba-wa. And in music, we call that interval ba, that one associates with the police siren, as the devil in music, the diabolos in musica, they used to call it in the 17th century. Io, because it's ugly. It has a sort of, well, it's dissonant. Yeah? Do it slowly again. And that gesture comes all the way through the opera, and it represents the energy of these four students who live together. And it's a very original and arresting way to start an opera. And for every Italian, how you start the piece is a major concern. I don't know whether any of you have ever been to an Italian opera performance. I remember going to Rome, and they turn some of the lights off and nobody stops talking, nobody sits down, and the noise keeps going. They turn the second lot of lights off to tell the audience, we really are going to start. Nobody takes any notice at all. Only when the conductor is in position and preparing to start the music does the audience go down a little bit, but it still keeps talking all the way through the overture. And that, of course, was the way in 1700. It was the way in 1800 and 1850. It was the way when I conducted in Italy a few years ago. Incredible. But that's the way they are. We're not going to change them. Why should we? Let them be drawn into the experience. So Puccini's idea is to arrest them with this slightly dissonant, slightly unclear explosion of energy. Okay. Two of the characters is this beautiful girl, Mimì, and the painter, Marcello. They're friends because Mimì falls in love with Marcello's friend, Rodolfo. Rodolfo and Mimì argue. They have a lot of problems together because she's a bit of a flirt. She's not a vulgar girl. She's rather delicate. She's sweet. She has a lovely nature, but she uses her nature to pull the lads. Rodolfo adores her, and they have been very happy. But when we see these two together in the third act, Rodolfo and Mimì have been separated a long time. And she wants to try and come back to Rodolfo, and indeed Marcello, because she knows she hasn't got long to live. She knows that her death is probably around the corner, or she fears that it might be. She hasn't been well. Tuberculosis hovers over her, as it did with so many young people at that time. So we see her now coming to this strange inn, this osteria, as the libretto calls it. We'd call it a pub or a dive, where Marcello is painting the outside of the building. He's learning, he's getting a bit better, he's earning a bit of money. And she comes to try and make friends with him again and find out how Rodolfo's getting on. So we're going to start at the beginning of this third act as Mimì comes slowly, ill, weak, in the snow, in the depths of winter, to try and make contact with these young people that meant so much to her months earlier. Eccola.
Grazie. Oh, buona donna, mi fate il favore di cercarmi il pittore Marcello. Ho da parlargli, ho tanta fretta, ditegli piano che Mimì l'aspetta.
Then we hear snowflakes. And the customs officials questioning people, hey, quel paniere. Vuoto, passi. Then we hear the distant church bells. And a burst of energy. And Marcello comes out of the pub, not sure who he's going to see. And then he's surprised.
Speravo di trovare
da un mese di quello sia la spese. Musetta insegna il canto ai passeggeri. Io pingo quei guerrieri sulla facciata. È freddo, entrate.
C'è Rodolfo.
Sì.
Non posso entrare, no.
Perché?
Marcello, aiuto!
Cos'è avvenuto?
Rodolfo, mamma, mi fugge, il mio Rodolfo si strade per gelosia.
Okay, bravo. My God, beautiful, wonderful, wonderful. Bravo. I've never heard these two singers before. Okay, we've just met, and we're just going to work together as if you weren't here. Yeah. Well done, both of you. Perfect voices for the music. Absolutely lovely. Puccini was a composer who adored little things. He said so. He adored the tiny little instructions that he left behind. Don't wait on this note too long, but wait on this one. Don't be too slow here, but be slow here. So he actually has been very prescriptive. That doesn't mean to say we all can only do one way, because each artist is so different, and we must find a way to do it with these people, as I'm doing at the moment with my cast. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to say to you is, when you sing triplets, the three notes of the triplet are equally beautiful, the trinity, yeah? And the tendency is, in some styles of music, is that one makes the first note longer when you have three together. Ri ta ta ti, and not ri ti ti ti. Now, when you speak to the old lady, yeah, and you say, "Oh, buona donna, mi fate il favore," would you just say that in the same tempo as you sang it? Just say it.
Oh, buona donna, mi fate il favore di cercarmi il pittore Marcello.
But you sang, "Oh, buona donna, mi fate il favore," okay? Which is absolutely not what he wanted. And I'll tell you why. Just sing it, try to get it even. One.
Oh, buona donna, mi fate il favore di cercarmi il pittore Marcello.
Okay, now, do you notice that on your second note of each triplet, the flutes here, high quality flutes, do you see he's playing cha, cha, cha. So the flutes must be exactly with your second syllable. But they can't be, because you don't sing it right, because you don't sing it really evenly. You're tentative, you're nervous, you're weak, and the words that you say must be understood by somebody you've never seen before, an old lady who may not be listening. She's probably not interested. Another of those loose living girls, you know? Oh, buona donna, mi fate il favore. Do me the favor, my dear lady. Yeah, try it. One.
Oh, buona donna, mi fate il favore di cercarmi il pittore Marcello.
Yeah, brilliant. But it's completely different now as a piece of music, because immediately the listener hears that Mark's harmony fits exactly with the pace and rhythm of your speech. So one listens to the totality, rather than before with your disjointed rhythm, which might be good if he didn't have those triplet notes, fights against the flutes. Do you see what I mean? But for a girl who has so little energy and who is dying and is really weak, these harmonies are part of you. They describe the way you are in the snow. Yeah? There's another thing here, ladies and gentlemen, that the Italian language is full of these double consonants. Like you say, for instance, here's a good example, tutti frutti. Yeah? So the double T's there need to be clear, don't they, for an Italian? Otherwise, if you say tutti frutti, they will have no idea what you're saying. You have to say tutti frutti. Can you all do that? tutti frutti. Do you see it has a triplet, rum-ta-tinta rhythm, okay? Now, the singers always say, when I have to do a double consonant, the Italians take time to do it, don't they? I can't do it in this rhythm, like you were trying to do then. I'm not being harsh at all. I'm being very compassionate. O buona donna mi fa, donna mi fa. You can do the double N and still do the guy's rhythm, I think. And one.
O buona donna mi fate il favore di cercarmi il pittore Marcello.
Wait. Wait.
Tanta fretta.
Wait.
Ditemi piano che Mimì l'aspetta.
That's beautiful. Can you hear that when she fits exactly with the rhythm in the accompaniment, there's a sense of it being right together. Let's now go from Mimì, yeah? So hear the end of the bells. Ding, ding, ding.
Speravo di trovarvi qui.
E versiam qui da un mese di quell'ostia la spese. Musetta insegna il canto ai passeggeri. Io pingo quei guerrieri sulla facciata.
Okay, great, terrific. I think you should do di quell'oste alle, shouldn't you? L'oste alle spese.
L'ostial.
Steal.
Steal.
Yes, so that I hear l'oste alle spese.
L'osteal.
That's it, lovely. Then, can you take a good breath and do it all in one? Musetta insegna il canto ai passeggeri. So that you try and say to Mimì, sort of tactfully, she gives lessons, you know, darling. Because she knows, she's seen Musetta at work. You know, that's right, she knows what she is. So you don't need to be too obvious with it,
Okay.
yeah? But then he says risoluto, doesn't he? Io pingo quei guerrieri. It's hard to do that fast, isn't it?
Yeah.
I can't do it. Io pingo quei guerrieri sulla, but then you should breathe. Guerrieri sulla facciata. So you're saying, I got a job painting the outside of this building. Things aren't so bad after all, yeah? Okay, again, end of the bells.
Speravo di trovarvi
E versiam qui da un mese di quell'ostia alla spese. Musetta insegna il canto ai passeggeri. Io pingo quei guerrieri sulla facciata. È freddo, entrate.
C'è Rodolfo.
Sì,
It's a little bit fast.
Non posso entrar, no.
perché?
Okay, lovely, well done, gorgeous. Try something different. È freddo, entrate. I often find that the interval of the third, di, da, for you, oh, buon Marcello, aiuto, is more touching, it's more intense if you don't slide.
Okay.
Now, one of the vocal things about singing is how you join your notes. And you can do, you could slide. And I love it when the voices slide. You know, I think it's so beautiful to join your notes well. Not everybody agrees. My distinguished colleague Riccardo Muti, when he took over at La Scala, got a huge amount of harpic and cleaned out all the singing of these portamenti. He couldn't bear it. He said it wasn't allowed. You were never allowed to slide. Now, it has to be done really beautifully. But sometimes the voice sounds more beautiful when it's pure. Yeah? Now he says to her, come in and keep warm. È freddo, entrate. There it might be more beautiful. Then when you do, oh, buon Marcello, aiuto, she says, oh, good Marcello, please help me. I don't know, try it and see. Yeah?
Io pingo quei guerrieri sulla facciata. È freddo, entrate.
C'è Rodolfo.
Sì,
harder passage. You need to breathe quicker. This is one of the hardest things for singers, is to how you incorporate your breath within the music and not get behind the orchestra. Yeah? So the note before the breath must come earlier and must be shorter. Do you see you're doing Rodolfo Mama, Rodolfo? I reckon if you did Rodolfo Mama, do you see? It's best to be in the right place after the breath rather than just before it. Because that keeps, do you understand what I mean? 1, 2, 3, Rodolfo. Rodolfo Mama mi fugge il mio. Now, the effort that he makes her put into singing that phrase is, of course, part of the drama. If he'd made that a little more comfortable, and it's not comfortable, is it, to sing? No. No. But he's a clever man. He doesn't give her any rests at all, and yet she needs to breathe 5 times in order to get the notes out. Now, that time, I don't know whether you noticed, but the very highest note was fantastic quality of sound. It was different from her other times because she took a better breath before it. And it's a question of how do you do that and not be late, isn't it? Yeah? How you do that. But you see, the orchestra will know you're going to breathe. They will wait. Yeah, and Mark waited so beautifully then. And you were much more comfortable, weren't you? Yes. Okay. Now, you've got a trinity at the end, haven't you? Which you should try and get better. Forgive me. Si strugge per gelosi. Da, 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 da. Do a trinity. Once again. Can you bear it again? Yes. 2, 3. You're something. No, you are something. That was fantastic. Because she did a wonderful top note, a wonderful top E flat, and didn't breathe. She took one breath out, yeah? And she didn't faint. Okay, we're going on. On we go. Un passo un detto. She says, just if I take a step in the wrong way, if I say one word in the wrong way, I have a flower that I look at somebody, he gets covered in suspicion. Un passo un detto, un vezzo, un fior, lo mettono in sospetto, onde corruce dire, allor la notte fingo di dormire, e in me sento peso, sfiormi sogni in viso. Mi grido ad ogni istante, non fai per me, ti prendi un altro amante, non fai per me, di lui parli il novello, lo so, ma che rispondergli Marcello?
Quando sei come voi, non si vive in compagnia.
Lasciarci conviene, aiutateci voi, questi per la
Soy lieve a me perché ti amiamo. piombato che un'ora avanti l'alba s'assopì sopra una panca. Guardate,
Then she coughs uncontrollably.
che tosse,
Boom, drum, boom, drum.
A giorno sono uscita e me ne venne a questa volta.
si desta, s'alza, mi cerca. Vieni,
Che non mi veda,
o rincasate, Mimì, per carità, non fate scene qua.
When it's right and when it's together, and when the rubato, which is the word we use to describe the ebb and flow, where it slows down and where it must go forward again and where it must wait and then run on, that has to be so beautifully together for this music to seem at its best. Let's just do this passage again. It's one of the most beautiful passages, isn't it? But I think it's more beautiful if your rhythm matches Mark's rhythm. Do you see? So it's 3 and 1. Yeah, good, good. You're still schwindling it a bit. You're still free with it. Mi grida ad ogni sta. Now, if you think of the meaning of the words, from moment to moment he shouts at me, we're hopeless together. But Puccini has set it, mi grida ad ogni sta, very quietly, with this dense sound in the orchestra. Yeah? It's as if it's too painful for you to say in a more melodramatic way. Life is hell in the flat at the moment. Okay? Got the note? And 1. Okay, yes, it's marvelous. It's marvelous. But you're going on to say the same idea in a higher pitch. Don't be late on ti prendi. Make me shorter. Non fai per me ti. So you just me ti, touch me and off. Yeah? Now that was beautiful. The vowel on istante is a little bit too dark, I think, because it's a little flat. Ogni sta. It lacks resonance. Ogni istante. Yeah? And 1. Off, non fai per off, in lui parla
lo so, ma che rispondergli Marcello?
Quando sei come voi, non si vive in compagnia.
Dite bene, lo sorge conviene.
Bravo. And when he replies after this fantastically moving speech, and you did that so well, it was really powerful, he says, a rather boring bar, he says, well, when it's like it is with you two, there's no point in living together. Non si vive in compagnia. Darling, you've just got to get over him, move on. Yeah? So she comes back with this lovely, dite ben, dite ben. Yeah? Do the D a little with more energy with your tongue. Dite ben, and don't think about the top A at all. Okay. Use the D, yeah, to throw you up there. Yeah? Now this passage, of course, is the same as she sang by herself earlier. It's so clever of him that before her top note, he gives her 3 or 4 beats off. to have a quick gin and tonic round the back, you know, and to have a good breath before she sings the last phrase with him together. Puccini was so clever at that sort of thing. This is the second time. It must be more powerful than when she sang it by herself. Yeah? So he carries the weight of the phrase while she swallows. That seems a funny thing to say, doesn't it? But when you, isn't this right? You need time to swallow, don't you? And he hasn't had to work too hard, so he carries the burden of the music. She has a good chance to clear her tubes so that she's in cracking form for the top. Yeah? Okay? Quando sei come voi. You should give it up. That's what you're saying, isn't it? Piano, gentle. And one.
Quando sei come voi, non si vive in compagnia.
Dite. Okay, fantastic. Triplet, trinity. Yeah? Lasciarci conviene. There's more beauty in it. There's more vocal beauty. But did you feel the A?
No.
No. It just came out of you like a rocket. No, but it was brilliant. That top note there. Because she didn't actually... I encouraged her not to think about the fact it was a top note, but to think about the text just before it. And the A then was liberated from your body and it came out like an arrow. It was fantastic. Can we just do that once more? That's lovely. And when you say, non si vive in com, I'm sorry, darling, but it's too late, you know? So you're not very helpful. So then she comes back at you with a bit of, yeah? One.
Quando sei come voi, non si vive in compagnia.
Dite, dite. Lasciarci conviene. So he says, I'll wake him up. Is he asleep? He came in late last night. Okay, so immediately after that fantastic moment when they sing together, and the music is so powerful and passionate, and that was wonderful. I mean, it was beautifully together, and it was really clear what you felt. Bravo, it's lovely. Well, that's this lovely little scene. And the idea was just to open it out for you all a little bit, to show you the sort of work that we do at 10:30 in the morning, at 5:30 in the afternoon, trying to get nearer to what it means to master these pieces. And I hope that what I think is so lovely, and I hope you will agree with me, is that they've shown you how they can alter it, how they can change what they do, and how they can make it more beautiful and more intense. And I think that's just wonderful. I think we should say a huge thank you to my orchestra. Thank you, my dear. Beautiful.